I think in this season of life, I have just learned to not set such lofty, unattainable reading goals. So I'm going to be stepping a lot of things back within the next year and definitely within this month too. But I don't know, to some people this may still seem like a lot, and likely in this November TBR, I still won't get through it all. But we're going to give it a go anyway. Hello friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Haley and I am a Christian wife, homeschooling mother of 3, out to redeem my very own literary education, which means I set very often super lofty, high reading goals and expectations of myself that just don't always come to fruition because of the season of life that I'm in. I do have 3 very small children, a now 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and I'm homeschooling my oldest child. So life is just getting busy and I'm reading a bit less. Well, I guess since we're doing Charlotte Mason and Ambleside online with my oldest, I'm actually reading a lot, just mostly for her homeschool. But my personal reading has really gone down in quantity. However, it's gone up in quality, which I'm totally fine with. I'm just in that season of life where I'm going to be reading really high value, deep, classic literature books. But it's just going to take me longer to read them, and I'm just not going to read as much as a lot of people that you'll find on YouTube because that's just life. And for classic literature, I prefer physically reading them over audiobooks. I'm not against audiobooks. I still listen to audiobooks for a lot of my nonfiction reads and just a lot of reads written by modern authors. But for my classic literature, I do like to read them physically. So we're going to read great books. We're just not going to read very many of them at once. So needless to say, that's going to reflect in my November TBR, or my November pile of possibilities, if you will. And so the first book on my November TBR was also on my October TBR, and that is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I knew I wasn't going to finish this one in October. I wanted to, but I just didn't think it would happen, and it didn't. I did, however, get about 100 pages in out of about 400, and I am loving this story so much so far. It has really captured me, and I am reading this alongside the Literary Life podcast, and they are just enriching the story that much more for me. It's kind of like a literature class, but for free on a podcast. It's like the best literature class you will ever take, and I'm just really enjoying this experience. So I'm hoping to wrap this up in November, of course. And then my next read is also another book that was on my October TBR, but I didn't make it to it, which I also kind of anticipated, which is Vera by Elizabeth von Arnim. And originally, I heard this described as Wuthering Heights if it were written by Jane Austen, but several people have said it's more like Rebecca if it were written by Jane Austen. And I really enjoyed Rebecca last year, which I think I might have even read in November. So I'm excited to give this kind of moody, more haunting read a try because I have loved Elizabeth von Arnim's 2 other books that I read earlier this year, The Enchanted April and Elizabeth and Her German Garden. So I'm excited to read something kind of like this from her in the month of November. My next read is one I'm actually doing with my in-person book club, and that is called The Collector of Burned Books by Rosanna M. White. This is Christian historical fiction set in Paris, France in the midst of World War II, and it follows 2 characters, one Corinne, who is kind of helping this library of burned books. It is literally a library that holds all of these books that were banned or burned by the Nazis, and she is trying to help preserve these books, but she is also sort of a part of a resistance that is coding within the margins of these books to help pass along information from the Nazis. So it's very fascinating, and of course she's also a believer, so she is walking through this as a Christian, but also as a scholar and lover of books. And then our other character that we follow in this book, whose name is Christian, is actually with the Nazis. And he is tasked with finding all of these banned and burned books and kind of going through them, or finding more books that should be banned, recovering books that they want to have. Basically, he's on the enemy side, but he is wrestling with this because he is a professor and a lover of books and literature. And he doesn't really agree with the Nazi party, but he's kind of just going along with them, I guess, to preserve his own life. But he's also a believer, so I'm really excited to see how he wrestles with himself. And these two characters meet when, of course, he comes to this library of banned books in search of these books and the recovery of them. So I'm just really interested to see where this one will go. I love historical fiction. That's probably my favorite modern day fiction to actually read. So I'm excited for this one, and I will probably share my thoughts on this particular book at the end of the year when I do a video of all of the 12 books that my book club read this year, because we read one Christian book per month and we rotate between Christian fiction and Christian nonfiction. So I will do a whole video of that at the end of the year, reviewing all of the books that we read. And then my next book that I would like to read in November, and I do think I will actually read this one in November, is a Christian nonfiction, and it's also kind of a Christian classic, and that is Humility by Andrew Murray. And this book is, of course, about humility and the argument that humility is the chief virtue that will carry you through in your Christian walk. And also pride is kind of the chief vice that leads to sin. And so this book is all about cultivating humility, and during the time it was written, why we should focus on humility more, because it isn't as talked about as it should be. And it's funny because my channel name is Humbly Haley, not because I'm humble, but because I really want to be. I'm someone that struggles with pride and self-righteousness and selfish ambition. And so this particular book is one that I think will speak to me personally. I've already read 2 chapters and I'm blown away so far. I love it. It's not a very long book, but it is powerful and spiritually deep. So far, 2 chapters in, I would highly recommend this one, and I can't wait to finish it and share my full thoughts with y'all once I'm done. And last, but certainly not least, one I'm very excited to get to, hopefully in the month of November, is The Two Towers by, of course, J.R.R. Tolkien. This is part 2 of the Lord of the Rings series, volumes, and I'm so excited to dive back into this world. Tolkien is my male author of the year. So far, I've only read 2 books by him this year, which were, of course, The Hobbit and The Fellowship of the Ring, and I loved both of them. But I will say, Tolkien is very heavy in fantasy. His world is very complex. His ideas are very deep, and the way he describes the setting and the atmosphere, it just takes you a little bit to get through these books if you really want to picture everything, and I do, because it's so well done. So the past 2 books took me longer to read than what I thought they would, but not because they were boring, but because they were just rich and deep, and the story's so good. So I've been putting it off a little bit because I know it takes me a little bit to get through them, but I'm excited to dive right back into this world. I will say the beginning of this book got spoiled by the Fellowship of the Ring movie. I have not read this series before now, and I hadn't watched the movies. So after I read The Fellowship of the Ring, I watched the Fellowship of the Ring movie, and that ending, I'm pretty sure, led to the beginning of some of this that I was not anticipating, I didn't expect, and I wasn't ready for. So I don't think I'm going to be watching the movies again until after I completely finish this series, because that spoiled me. And so I feel like I already kind of know what's going to happen at the beginning if the movies follow pretty closely with the books. So I'm a little upset about that, if that's true. But I am excited to pick this up again and dive back into the world. I would love to finish this series by the end of the year, which means I would have to read The Two Towers in November, and I would have to read the 3rd book in December in order to finish this. I don't think I'll get to the Silmarillion this year, but maybe at the beginning of next year. But anyway, I do want to read this in November, or at least start it in the month of November. And that's all I have. And that's ambitious enough. Like, I probably will not get to all of these books in November or finish them. But if I can do 3 out of the 5, I'll be happy. I know I'll finish Dracula, Humility, and The Collector of Burned Books for sure. I have to finish that one because our book club is in November and I make up the questions and lead the book club. So I have to finish The Collector of Burned Books. But I would also love to get to Vera into the Two Towers. We might take a homeschool break for the week of Thanksgiving. So other than holiday stuff, that might give me a little extra reading time. And that's the plan. I probably won't get to all of these, but I'm going to try. So please let me know in the comments below, how has your reading gone this year? Have you read as much as you wanted to or not? Is your reading slower this year than you anticipated? Are you happy with where you're at? And then just tell me what books you are hoping to finish out the year with. And of course, if you have read any of these and you have any thoughts on them. Thank y'all so much for watching. Lord willing, I will see y'all next time. Happy November.